Hello, welcome to the Black Girl's Guide to Bachelor Nation. I'm excited you're here, I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to talk about all things Bachelor. Perhaps you're here because you've heard that this is going to be the most diverse season of Bachelor and Bachelorette ever in the history. Perhaps you've seen Love is Blind and Dating Around and you want to know a little bit more about these dating reality TV shows. Whatever the reason, I'm glad you're here. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about Bachelor Nation, the people, the ideas, and we're going to use Rachel Lindsay's historic season as the first Black Bachelorette as our jumping off point. A little bit about me. I love reality TV, but I've never watched a season of The Bachelor and Bachelorette because I just really assumed it was white people shit. So when I heard that there was going to be a Black Bachelorette, I was all in. I watched every single episode. I was invested. I knew who she was going to pick. I felt like the entire season. When I got to the finale, she picked that person and everybody thought she made the wrong choice. They called her all kinds of names. They called her a gold digger. They questioned her integrity. They shamed her on her media rounds. And I was wondering if these people saw the same show that I did. Well, after doing a little bit of research, I realized that there's a whole entire ecosystem that is Bachelor Nation, and they come with their own set of ideas and people that they value. And so instead of allowing other people to be blindsided in the same way that I was, I'm doing this set of videos so that the same thing doesn't happen to anybody else. We're going to talk about the major plot points, the characters that emerge, any terminology you need to know, and towards the end, we'll talk about any villains that emerge, any race traitors, and this is the Black Girl's Guide, so we'll be keeping score of race till the end. The first person you need to know is Rachel Lindsay. At the time of filming, she was a 31-year-old attorney from Texas. She had appeared on Nick Viall's season where she finished third, which I believe is the highest place a Black person has finished in 37 seasons of both The Bachelor and Bachelorette. So she is outgoing, she is charming, she is a sports lover, she is not afraid to be her full self on camera, which of course makes for great TV. And she's out there smart and confident, just looking for love. I thought she was a fantastic lead. The second person you need to know is Chris Harrison. Chris Harrison is the host of the show. He has been the host of Bachelor and Bachelorette since day one. He's also a producer on the show. He is someone who guides the show, he guides the audience, he guides the lead, he facilitates most of the rose ceremonies, and he can also be like a confidant, somebody to bounce ideas off of. He usually has the trust of the lead. But I will say this, I always think it's important to keep in mind that he is a producer. So if the lead goes left and it makes for good TV, to just leave him over there on the left, Chris Harrison is going to go and do that. It doesn't happen so much on Rachel's season, but if you're watching future seasons and you're like, what is the deal? Chris Harrison is also a producer. The third person you need to know is a guy named Steve Carbone who runs a website called Reality Steve. You may have heard about Reality Steve on Entertainment Tonight or on The Tonight Show. Basically, he runs a gossip site about reality TV, with the majority of the content really being about Bachelor and Bachelorette. He knows who the contestants are before they show up. He posts them online. He posts information about the dates. And he typically knows who the winner is long before anybody else actually does. I would say a lot of the times he will spoil the season early on, and sometimes that's correct, sometimes it's not. But typically several weeks before we get to the end of the season, he knows who it is. I would say that Reality Steve plays an important part in Rachel's season, so it's important to know who he is. And the last thing you need to know is the Bachelor Mansion. And in order to move into the mansion, you have to make it past the first night. The people who make it past the first night move into the Bachelor Mansion, live their reality TV style, real world style, living in bunks, They move into the mansion, living in bunk beds, while Rachel lives in the lap of luxury. I think it helps to understand why so much drama happens. Sharing rooms, sleeping 6 and 8 to a room, stuff is going to happen. Maybe more things happen with the girls. I mean, I think that's enough. Let's meet these men. First out of that limo is Peter Kraus. He steps his 1 foot down, revealing a black sock with gray polka dots and a slate blue blazer with window pane plaid black stripes. a black bow tie, his silver fox hair, and his slight gap tooth, he saunters over to Rachel with all of the swagger in the world, checks and asks her how she is feeling. You're nervous? I'm nervous. Can you feel my hands shaking? He tells her that he's from Wisconsin, which is where she went to law school and which is also where the previous lead, the guy who decided to be with somebody else, was also from. He makes mention of that fact, gives her a big old hug, and marches himself right into the Bachelor Mansion. Now, women across America, their hearts are swelling, they're passing out, hearts are skipping beats because, my God, who is this guy? Next up out of that limo is Josiah, attorney from Miami, Florida, looking also very dapper in a gray jacket and a red rose. I promise you I won't be telling you what everybody has on, but I think this is important. It's well tailored. He's an African American man. He comes out, he makes a litigator joke, like, see you later, litigator, gives her a big old hug, walks into the Bachelor Mansion. The third person out of this limbo is Brian Abasolo, chiropractor from Miami, Florida. He comes up, he says, hello, my name is Brian. He starts speaking to her in Spanish, telling her that she looks spectacular. Meanwhile, in the background, all of this like salsa music starts playing as he's like laying it on thick, telling her she looks beautiful, and he tells her that she's going to be in trouble. He asks if she's ever dated a Colombian before. She says no. He says she's going to be in trouble. She says, oh, really? And he says, but it's good trouble. I'm into it. I think I'm the only one. Okay, so I thought that first limo was stacked. Let's meet some of the other people who are merged, who either become important people on Rachel's season or important people later in Bachelor Nation. First, we're going to talk about Eric Bigger. He's a personal trainer from Baltimore. Next, Kenny King. He's a pro wrestler. He has the most adorable daughter who we meet in a package before the limo exits even begin. Next, we have Lee. He's a singer-songwriter from Florida. He comes out playing the guitar, serenading Rachel. There's Will Gaskins. He's a sales manager from White Plains. Anthony, a software engineer from Chicago. Also from Chicago, we have Diggy, who wears the cutest bow ties and has the most amazing shoe collection. Also Dean, who's from Colorado. He emerges before the season even starts and tells Rachel that he's going black and he's never going back. We have Matt from Connecticut, Adam from Dallas, Demario, who's a recruiter in California. And one final person, my honorable mention, Moeet, who is an entrepreneur and a Bollywood dancer, and he has no bearing on Rachel's season at all, but he's absolutely my favorite person in this first episode. So now that everybody's out of the limo, we're heading into our first cocktail party. We have cocktail parties almost every week. Typically, anytime there's a group situation, we're going to have a cocktail party. What's unique about this first cocktail party is that everybody is still here, and the drama from the cocktail party comes from two things. One, it's a cocktail party, so people are cocktailing, and they're likely getting a little bit inebriated. Two, this is the contestants' first opportunity, especially if they weren't on either a group date or a one-on-one date, which we will get to. If they didn't have any one-on-one time with the lead during the week, this is their one opportunity to spend, whether it's 2 minutes or 15 minutes, having a one-on-one conversation with the Bachelor or Bachelorette. So the first key conversation that we're going to talk about in this episode is with Dean. Dean has this sandbox, and he's got buckets, and they're going to build sandcastles. Turns out he's never built sandcastles. More importantly about this conversation is that there's this whole setup. People will come up with these ideas that they want to share with the lead, and they will have production help them set this stuff up, right? They obviously, Dean didn't bring sand with him. Production helped him do it. They call those setups. And that's what takes place here. The second key conversation is with Matt, and Matt is dressed as a penguin. He came out of the limo dressed as a penguin, and he's continuing to sit and talk to Rachel this first night at the cocktail party as a penguin. Next is Adam. Adam has this pillow puppet named AJ. Apparently he created something similar in the hotel room. A producer came to pick him up and said, oh no, you have to bring AJ. And the puppet was born. Next we have Brian. Brian steals Rachel from somebody else. She was clearly bored with this conversation with Fred, and I think she was a little bit relieved. He takes her to a quiet remote corner in front of the Bachelor Mansion. He tells her that he's 37 years old and a chiropractor, and he's here for something serious. Rachel asks him to tell me a little bit more about this trouble that you alluded to. He says it's only good trouble. Rachel giggles like a schoolgirl. He grabs her face and continues to kiss her. I mean, and not just like a peck, but like kiss her. I have a problem with intimacy. Rachel obviously likes it. But she says in a talking head, also known in Bachelor Nation as an ITM, which stands for in the moment. She says in an ITM that, oh, she liked it. After that is done, Chris Harrison comes out and places a single rose on a lovely platter in the middle of where a whole group of guys were sitting. When the first impression rose comes out on the first night, it changes from, oh my gosh, we're so excited to be here. Oh my gosh, let's have another drink, to, oh, that's right, we're competing. And actually, the winner of this night is going to get that rose that's in the center of the table. We go on to have a couple more key conversations. She talks to DeMario, who says, I'm a mature person, I'm looking for something serious. She's into it. DeMario's handsome. I get it. Moit, who's like, I can't do it. People are trying to push him towards her. He can't do it. We have Peter, who comes with chocolates from Wisconsin. She tells Peter she doesn't eat chocolate, but says she'll eat them for him. Listen, I'd eat the chocolates for Peter too. Let's just be honest. And then Rachel goes and picks up that first impression rose, parades it around everyone. People like Josiah, who's been peacocking this entire evening, telling everybody that that is his rose. I like Josiah. And proceeds to say, Brian, may I have a conversation with you? She says how she liked how he spoke to her, how she was into it. Says, will you accept the first impression rose? He says, gee, let me think about it. She says, don't take too long. And I'm like, Brian, can you just say yes? Like, I like Brian. Obviously, Rachel likes Brian, but my goodness, dude. Anyway, he grabs her face. He tongues her down again. Moet is in the background going, no, which is obviously why he's my favorite person this episode. We're in the home stretch. We're at the rose ceremony, which typically happens at the end of every week, even if it's not necessarily the end of every episode. The guys line up on the riser. The people who already have roses, because it's the first impression rose or for whatever reason, aren't in trouble. They know they're going on to the next week. There are enough roses laid out on a pedestal that Rachel is going to distribute. She gives out her roses. Her first rose goes to Peter. Her last rose goes to DeMario, and there are a whole host of guys in between. There are too many to recount. Just know that half the people who showed up and who quit their jobs and bought wardrobes and all of those things were sent home, and some of them are quite bitter about it. So after the rose ceremony, those people who are remaining move into the Bachelor Mansion, and then the season takes off. The next episode, we will address and discuss all the things that happen in the normal episodes of a Bachelor or Bachelorette season. In terms of our stats, our villain of the episode is obviously Waboom. I mean, who doesn't want to stab him for having that bullhorn? In terms of one-on-one time with Rachel, I think Rachel was amused, and that was a way for him to stand out. He irritated the other contestants. He obviously irritated the viewers. In terms of a race traitor this episode, I don't think there was one. I mean, it's early days, it's the first episode. Everyone was on their best behavior. And in terms of stats, we have 10 people of color still remaining in the season out of 23, 10 out of 23, which I honestly don't think is bad. Rachel has said that she hasn't ever seriously dated anyone who was not Black before she got to The Bachelor and Bachelorette. And, you know, she needed to be open to all kinds of people. So it seems that she is.